Let's talk about seventh chords, and we're going to talk about a very specific kind of seventh chord first, the dominant seventh chord. It's called the dominant seventh because the only time that it naturally occurs within a key signature is on the dominant. And the dominant seventh has a very certain quality to it. So in this case, I'm looking at a major chord, a major triad. We have a major third and a minor third there. When I create a seventh on top of that, that's going to be another minor third above the fifth of the chord, or you can think about it being a minor seventh from the root of the chord. So dominant seventh chords contain a major triad and then a minor third on top of the triad, or a major triad and a minor seventh from the root. However you want to think about those things. That's how we create a dominant seventh chord. The other term for this chord is a major minor seventh because it's a major triad with a minor seventh on top. Sounds like this. Major triad, minor seventh, major minor seventh, or dominant seventh. Like I said, it's called the dominant seventh because that's the one place where it naturally occurs within a key. So if we look at this triad here, we've got G, B, D. What is the quality of the triad? Just this bottom part here. That's a G major chord. So I'd write a G. And then I have this seventh here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And from G natural to F natural, that's a minor seventh. So this is a dominant seventh built on G. It is a G7 chord. Another way to think of it is that this G7 would be the 5/7 for the key of C major. So in C major, G is the 5, so a G7 in C major is the 5/7. Here we have an F, F-A-C, E flat. If we look at the triad, F-A-C matches the key of F major. So that's a major triad. I'll put a capital F here. And from F to E flat, that doesn't fit with F major, right? That is down a half step from what we would expect. That is a minor seventh. So I'd write F7. That's my letter name analysis. If I did Roman numeral analysis, I would know that this would be the 5/7. But it'd be the 5/7 of what key? The 5/7 of F? No. Because it's not a tonic seventh chord, it's a dominant seventh chord. So then I ask myself, what is F the dominant of? Well, I count down F, E, D, C, B. Is it B natural or B flat? It's B flat. And I check that by just thinking in the key of B flat, it's F natural. In the key of B natural, it's F sharp. That's a whole other chord. So that is B flat contains the F7 chord as the dominant seventh. The key of B flat has F as the dominant, F-A-C as the dominant triad, F-A-C, E flat as the dominant seventh. Once more, I'm checking that by looking at what the key signature of B flat tells me. Next one here, we have a chord built on E. That's E, G sharp, and B. The top note is a D. So I'm looking at my triad, and I see that my triad is a major triad. E, G sharp, B matches the key of E major, not E minor. What doesn't match the key of E major is that D natural. E major would have a D sharp. That would be a major seventh, but this is a D natural, so it's a minor seventh. Major triad, minor seventh means that this is an E, capital E for the major triad, 7 for the seventh. I don't have to write M7 to show minor 7 because just like root position triads are understood and I don't have to write anything if they're root position, sevenths are always understood to be minor unless I say something otherwise. Because by far minor sevenths are the most common type of sevenths that we see. If it's something other than a minor seventh, which we'll see in later chords, then I'll have to actually show what kind of seventh it is. So this E7 is major triad, minor seventh, an E7 or an E dominant 7 is what we'll call it. So we know that it's the dominant 7, we know it's the 5-7, but what is E the dominant of? Well, then I count back and I get E, D, C, B, A. So I say, does A major have an E natural as the dominant? It does. So this will be A major. If it didn't work out, like with this last one, we realized that it couldn't be B major because B major doesn't have F as the dominant, then I check the flat or sharp versions. B flat has F as the dominant. Here, when I went down to A, I checked that A does have E as the dominant, so I know we're talking about the key of A. If A didn't have E, I could check A flat or A sharp, depending on what I'm looking at. Next one here, we have an A chord. So this is an A, C sharp, E with a G natural. That's an A major triad with a minor 7th, or we write A7, A dominant 7, or a dominant chord built on A. Any of those ways we can describe it are correct. So this means if it's a dominant chord built on A, it is the 5-7, but it's the 5-7 of a specific key. It is not the 5-7 of A because it's not a tonic 7th, it's a dominant 7th. So I ask myself, what is A the dominant of? Well, I can count down A, G, F, E, D. So I think A is the dominant in the key of D. So A7 is the 5-7 in D. For the record, I'm writing major on all of these, but I could have just as easily written minor. Because in harmonic minor, we raise the leading tone, which means that the 5 is a major 5 and the 5-7 is a dominant 7. So for instance, for this right here, I said in D major, I have an A7. But I can also have an A7 in D minor if I'm using the harmonic version. D minor, A7. Here's D major. Here's D minor. So both of those work perfectly fine. You're welcome to label these as all the major keys when you're thinking in terms of where it belongs, but you should know that any of these dominant 7th chords also exist in the parallel harmonic minor. So G major, or G7 rather, occurs in C major and C minor. F7 occurs in B flat major and B flat minor. E7 occurs in A major and A minor. A7 occurs in D major and D minor. Because of the parallel connection to the keys, they'll have many of the same chords that cross over. Again, not in the natural form of minor for these, in the harmonic and melodic forms of minor. Now, let's look at what we have here. This was looking at a chord, analyzing the chord, and determining what key it belongs in. But now I want you to notate the chord. I want you to notate what this chord would look like spelled out. Not the key that the chord is in, like we did here, but what the actual chord is. So you can do this two different ways. Both ways start with the same first step, and I would build an A major triad. So A, C, E, and then I would apply the key signature of A major, right? I'll put my 7th up there just because I know I'm getting to it. So I think in the key of A major, then I apply the sharps, which are 3 sharps, F, C, and G. So I think the C has a sharp, and then the G would have a sharp. That matches A major. However, that would be an A with a major 7th and not A with a minor 7th, not an A dominant chord. So because of that, then I have to lower the 7th, or in this case, take that sharp away that I just applied. If you're thinking ahead, you can just not write that sharp in, because you know it's going to be lowered. So that's one way. I think in terms of what is the tonality of this, what is the key of this, and then I adjust one note. I flat the 7. I take it from an A major chord with a major 7, and then I go to a minor 7. Right? The second way, and what might be a little bit harder but will be a little bit quicker if you can do it, is just think, what is A the dominant of? D, and apply the key signature of D major. Right? Because you know it will fit with that. Both of those ways work. Both of those ways can get you the answer very fast. So use whichever one works better for you. Here we have now an F sharp dominant 7. So we can start by building our triad, then adding on a 7th. And we know it's going to be F sharp. There may also be other notes that are sharp too. So 2 different methods. One is we think, what is the key of F sharp? And then we flat the 7. So we'll try that. F sharp has how many sharps? F sharp major has how many sharps? F sharp major has 6 sharps. Almost everything in F sharp major is sharped. So that would mean that this is sharped and this is sharped. And it would also mean that the E is sharped. But because I'm flatting the 7 to create this minor 7 right here, I'm going to leave that sharp off. And that produces an F sharp dominant 7. If I put the sharp in, I would no longer have a dominant 7th chord. I'd have what we call a major 7, sometimes called a major major 7, where it would be this. Instead of my dominant, the 7 is raised up, which is not a bad chord. It's just a very different chord than what we're trying to build with a dominant 7. So keep that in mind on that. Now, next one, B flat 7. So a 7th chord built on a B flat. I build my triad first, then I add my 7th in. I know B is going to be flat. I can go ahead and put that in already. But I don't know what else is going to be flat. So key signature of B major, I can apply that. Or I can think of what is B the dominant of. I'll do that one first this time. So if I count back from B, I find out that B is the dominant of, did you figure it out? E flat. We know it has to be E flat and not E natural because we're dealing with B flat here. So E flat. Then I can just apply the key signature of E flat. E flat has 3 flats. There's a B flat, check. E flat, which isn't there, and A flat, check. Now I'm done. So that works just as well as the process that we did right here where I built the key of this and then flatted the 7th. In this case, I thought of the key that it's in and applied that. It's 2 steps either way. Use whichever one you want, but don't mix them up. So you can either build using the key signature of the given note and then make one note change, or you can determine the dominant and the tonic relationship. Dominant, therefore the tonic would be what? And apply that key signature. Sometimes people try to use a little bit of both systems, or all of both systems, or they use one and mix up a step, and that gets them the wrong answer. So just be very, very careful when it comes to that. Finally, we're going to look at one more way that we can interact with dominant 7th chords. So in this case, I've provided you the key, and I'm asking for the dominant, sort of like what we were talking about with this one. So in the key of E flat, whoa, we already figured this out. We know that the 5 of E flat, the dominant of E flat, is B flat. We just figured that out. So we're thinking, okay, B flat, D, F, A, and of course that A is going to be flatted because in the key of E flat, A is flat. So if I already have the key that it's applying to, then that happens very quickly. Okay, here, D, 5, 7. So in D, what is my 5, 7? What is my dominant 7? Well, I think in the key of D, D, E, F, G, A. So I'm building a chord on A. I can put my mutant snowman there, my four note stack there. And then I think, okay, what is my key signature for D major? D major has 2 sharps, F sharp, which is not in this chord, and C sharp, which is right there. So I'm done. Finally here we have the key of B flat, and I want the 5-7 in B flat. So if I think B, C, D, E, F, so it's built on some kind of F. And we've seen this chord before up here. I apply the key signature of B flat, which is a B flat, not there, and an E flat, which is there. That is an F7 chord, which is the 5-7 in B flat. So probably the single biggest mistake that people make in the process here is forgetting, am I thinking in terms of the root of this chord or the tonic of the key? Let's break that down really quick. The root of the chord is the note that the chord is built on. The tonic of the key is whatever key that chord is the 5 of. So the root of this chord is a G, but the tonic of the key is a C. Make sure that you understand that difference in relationship, that these are not tonic 7th chords, they are dominant 7th chords, that they're built on the 5 of a key. So you have to think in terms of jumping through scale degrees in the key. Once you do that, though, you'll have a really easy time building these chords. Keep practicing, and of course, keep memorizing your key signatures.